door.
What if someone's inside?
Well, you know what Mum always says. Nothing ventured,
Nothing
nothing gained.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
Pineapple under the sea! Serve than yellow and porous is he!
Okay.
Welcome, Emperors, Daleks, and La Resistance. I should have just said the Resistance. To episode 115 of an Unearthly podcast. Streaming live on the 15th of July, 2015, and featuring Terra Firma by Joseph Lidster. Yes, you did notice that, did you? I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
Hello.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Always a pleasure.
And Aaron Romeo Moonberg.
More chocolate!
Once
That's
again,
Big Finish Terra Firma, by the way.
Yes. It's Terra Firma from Big Finish, Main Range Doctor Who. We'll explain why. Oh, yes, we'll explain later. We are lacking Tim the Enchanter today. He is doing the theater, but he has given us notes. And we love you guys, but no, we're not here to talk about Star Wars, Dawn of Justice, Pluto, Suicide Squad, Comic-Con. Our 2 hours is just not bigger on the inside, and we just can't. There's too much to talk about. Sci-Fi News is taking a break this week.
Yeah.
There's thousands of places to find Comic-Con news.
Other than here.
Yeah.
All right. One of the few places we are going to talk about non-Doctor Who news is our normal birthdays. And we're going to start out with Patrick Stewart, who most fans will know as either Captain Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek The Next Generation or Professor Charles Xavier from the original X-Men movies, as well as the more recent Days of Future Past. Patrick Stewart turned 75 on Monday the 13th, so 2 days ago. Happy birthday, Patrick. He's currently, of course, still providing the voice of the director of the CIA for Family Guy, as well as various other endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, we have Harrison Ford of Star Wars trilogy, and all turns, and many other things, turns 73 on Monday, the 13th of July. Happy birthday, Harrison.
He's Blade Runner.
Yes. He's Decker, but not Decker Kane.
Here's one. Did David Graham, who voiced the 1960s Daleks, turn 90 on Saturday the 11th of July? He probably did, but Wikipedia and IMDb don't know anything about it, so I'm keeping the question mark on that sentence. That's kind of weird. TARDIS Data Core and Doctor Who News, which is our source for most of our news, do state that his birthday was the 11th of July, so assuming they're correct, happy birthday, Daleks.
It probably means nobody actually updated IMDb or Wikipedia with the information. And that's also the last of our birthdays, and we are going to move on to Lost Stories, for which we also have independent news and thankfully no Doctor Who news this time. The first person that we would like to mention is Roger Rees, who is a little bit obscure, but you might know him if you ever were a Mel Brooks fan and knew Robin Hood Men in Tights. He was the Sheriff of Rottingham. He was also in Cheers, Mantis, and a whole bunch of other programs in more or less bit parts. He died at 71 on Saturday. The cause has not yet been released.
And moving right along, we also have Satoru Iwata, the previous president of Nintendo. He was the fourth president of the company and the first one to not actually be of the founding family. He has many works under his belt, including being the creator of Kirby and the continuer of that franchise. He, since becoming president, has had his hands in on Zelda, Mario, and numerous other products. While he is also remembered infamously on YouTube as the guy who started the whole crackdown on Nintendo videos, he is also the same man who gave us Dual Screen and the Wii.
He
Which,
is
which pretty
being
much saved the company.
replaced by other. He is pretty much being replaced with very more other famous Nintendo programmers, including Shigeru Miyamoto, the guy that invented Zelda and Mario,
you went kind of robotic
is
there, huh?
currently
Yeah.
stepping in as co-president.
Which I hope he will. Yeah.
No, he is stepping in currently as co-president.
Okay.
And I don't know why I'm going robotic.
You were just going rollback for a little bit, and by the time you were covering who was coming in, you were going fine again.
Okay. And I'm hearing you both as robotic,
so yeah,
so I'm going to see if there's anything I can do with my computer.
Okay, yeah, Miyamoto is one of the co-presidents. So is Genyo Takeda, who is one of the other major programmers there who created Punch-Out.
Oh, awesome. Interesting. Very, very interesting. But yes, Iwata, I believe for sure was married. I'm not sure if he had any children. And like I said, he's had a very long, prolific, positive run for Nintendo, despite some lackluster ideas here or there. But there's a lot of really good things to remember him for as well. Oh, so also he helped make Balloon Fight. So moving on.
Yep.
Okay. So BBC Worldwide Annual Review. Doctor Who features prominently in the annual BBC Annual Review published today. Lord Hall, Director General of the BBC and the Chairman of BBC Worldwide, the corporation's commercial arm, singled out Doctor Who as one of the success stories for BBC Worldwide, which allows audiences in the UK to enjoy investment in programs at a higher level than the license fee alone can provide. Series 8 of Doctor Who, which was seen in the UK by an average consolidated audience of 7.4 million, has now aired in over 70 other countries and achieved record ratings on BBC America and Space Channel in Canada. Doctor Who is one of the BBC's best-selling brands, along with Top Gear, Orphan Black, and Life Hall, and Series 8 has been licensed to 189 territories in the year. One standout achievement listed in the report is Doctor Who The World Tour, which took place last summer. The report highlights new licensing deals for core BBC brands, including a Doctor Who partnership with Lego. The report highlights that the launch of Series 8 on BBC America delivered the show's highest ratings to date for the channel, up 19.7% versus prior series, with an average of 2.2 million viewers each week. Meanwhile, licensing sales on the title returned year-on-year growth in North America. Doctor Who remains the #1 TV brand on Tumblr and ranks among Twitter's top 5 most tweeted but original dramas. So in other words, Doctor Who is raking in the dough.
And it's about the only thing keeping BBC afloat.
Yeah, they mentioned best-selling brands along with Top Gear. That was a best-selling brand. It won't be anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that'll die in about a year.
So we've got some more numbers here. We've got 1,001.8 million worldwide sales, 226.5 million profit. Those are pounds. UK had 336.8 million, 52.7 million, or that. And then North America was 299.9 million, over 32.9 million. And it just keeps going up higher. We've got Aussie, New Zealand, 81.9 million over 16.3 million. Other markets are 276.3 million over 32.2 million. And why are we talking about this report now? Because the report confirms planning for Series 10. So let's move on to that. Okay, Series 10 has been confirmed. Hidden away on page 32 of BBC Worldwide Annual Review published today is the first official confirmation of the commissioning of Doctor Who Series 10. On page 32 of the report detailing with corporate governance, the text reads, during the year, matters under review included plans to launch the global genre brands BBC First in Australia and New Zealand, on Foxtel and BBC Brit and BBC Earth in Poland, and investments in the Musketeers Season 3 and Doctor Who Series 10. Additionally, during the year, WEX reviewed people, policies, and development opportunities across the company. So, and then there's also the full report is up for review too, if you want to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
So quite a lot going on.
Basically, we should have known they were going to start a Series 10 because they'd be stupid not to. That's what's making them money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Although solid confirmation is always a plus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of Series 10, we've also got some news for Series 9 here. The BBC has released its first trailer for the series. No, I do not count that teaser of the TARDIS from this past Thursday during Comic-Con. There's a lot to cover there, so we will be discussing that primarily after the news. But the big piece of information gleaned from the trailer is that Series 9 will debut on Saturday the 19th of September. As we had been laboring under the impression that the series would follow tradition that started with Series 1 and debut the week of the August bank holiday, this caused a bit of a last-minute shuffle in our schedule, which is why a review of Dalek has been pushed back 2 weeks to accommodate. So I do apologize if you're here for that. We will be covering that episode on Wednesday the 29th of July.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, we're going to discuss that trailer in big detail afterwards. So we're going to move on to other news with that, and that is, convention news. The Doctor Who panel did go on at the San Diego Comic-Con. It is available online. The panel featured Peter Capaldi, Jenna Coleman, Michelle Gomez, and Stephen Moffat. We'll also be talking about it after the news if we have time. There are some little interesting tidbits, mostly, how do they feel about roles, how Stephen writes for the Doctor, what each would consider their ideal day, etc. We are also been keeping tabs on the BBC Worldwide's upcoming Doctor Who Festival in November 13 in London. Michelle Gomez and Ingrid Oliver are now confirmed for attendance at the convention. There is no word yet on if they'll be attending the Doctor Who Festival Australia the following week.
Okay. Now, next up is DW Doctor Who personality news. So, what we've got going on here is Terrence Dicks, former script editor for Doctor Who, was awarded the 2015 Faust Award for Lifetime Achievement by the International Association of Media Tie-In Writers. The citation for the award reads, a driving force behind Target Books' Doctor Who novels. He wrote over 60 titles, edited and recruited other authors as well. He wrote for the soap opera Crossroads and co-created and wrote for the series Moonbase 3. He also worked as a producer on Sunday Classics. He authored several children's series, including about a cat called Magnificent Max. His longest running, another about a golden retriever, The Adventures of Goliath.
Go Terrence. But you know what happens. You get a Lifetime Achievement Award, you die. So
Dun, dun, dun.
putting Terrence Dicks on a death watch.
On to other classic Who personalities. Fraser Hines, who played the second Doctor's companion Jamie McCrimmon, has made his pop music video debut. Pop music debut at the age of 60, not bad. Playing a Renfield-style bartender in the vampire-themed music video for Lindsay Gold's Killing Kiss. Gold is currently running an Indiegogo campaign to help crowdfund her first album.
It should be noted that that is not Fraser Hines' pop music debut. He made several albums in the 60s, mostly related to his character in Doctor Who.
But no videos then.
Not that I'm aware of. It was a little early for that. And that appeal kind of died down in the 70s. Moving on, photographer Andy Gotts is running a photography exhibition supporting the Save the Arctic campaign to draw attention to global climate change. Among the 60 celebrities participating in the campaign are Peter Capaldi, David Tennant, John Hurt, and Jenna Coleman, 3 doctors and a companion. That's the start of a joke there, I'm pretty sure. The exhibition runs in the Waterloo Underground Station, York Road exit, now through Sunday, the 26th of July. Aaron?
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Done. The BBC has come under fire by the Conservative Party, who believe it should be smaller and cease producing popular entertainment and drama. Stephen Moffat has joined the ranks of stars and TV professionals writing to the British Prime Minister in defense of the corporation. His letters, signed by such names as David Attenborough, Brian Cox, Richard Curtis, Judi Dench, J.K. Rowling, and Daniel Craig, states, "In our view, a diminished BBC would simply mean a diminished Britain. The BBC is a very precious institution. Like all organizations, it has its faults, but it is overwhelmingly a creative force for good. Britain's creative economy is growing and enjoying unprecedented success. The BBC is at the heart of this as the global showcase for our creative industries. The BBC is trusted and loved at home by British audiences and is the envy of the world abroad. During the course of the Charter, we will continue to make the case for a strong BBC at the center of British life and will be vocal in making the case for the BBC as it approaches its centenary." Go BBC.
So, yes, if you want to email the British Prime Minister, you can do that at email.number10.gov.uk. And remember, no BBC drama equals no Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On to our creative news for Doctor Who. This time the 8th Doctor is following in the 9th Doctor's footsteps for once and is getting his own Titan Comics miniseries. Seemingly in his Night of the Doctor, I'm About to Die costume, Paul McGann will hit comic stores on October 28 in a miniseries written by Georgia Mann, author of the War Doctor novel Engines of War, with art by Emma Viacelli. The series consists of 5 interconnected stories.
Yeah, Paul McGann prefers that costume to his original, which he despised, so I'm not surprised
Mostly
they went
for
with
the
that.
wig.
Yeah.
I kind of think it would be in his Dark Eyes costume, but that one I guess is just as well. Speaking of Dark Eyes and Big Finish, following last month's 200th main range release, Big Finish has released what they proclaim as the new jumping on point for new listeners in We Are the Daleks, written by Jonathan Morris and starring Sylvester McCoy and Bonnie Langford. The mysterious media mogul Alex Xenos, head of the Xenos Corporation, is offering Britain an economic miracle. His partners wish to invest, and their terms are too good to refuse. While the Doctor investigates Warfleet, a new computer game craze that is sweeping the nation, Mel goes undercover to find out the truth about Xenos' partners. The Daleks have a new paradigm. They intend to conquer the universe using economic power, the power of the free market.
That's actually truly frightening.
Mm-hmm.
That is a master plan if I ever heard one.
Maybe we should find time to review that, Bill.
Holy
Yeah.
That'd
shit.
be awesome. That'd be fantastic. I'm all up for that.
Then again, it's the 7th Doctor and Mel, so it might be a bit tongue-in-cheek.
Just a bit.
But it'd still be fun. Alright.
Still can't
All
be
right.
any worse than the journey to the center of the TARDIS. So,
Also out now is the latest box set in Countermeasures, the Big Finish spin-off starring the proto-unit cast from Remembrance of the Daleks, also known as the Intrusion Countermeasures Group. The Series 4 set contains 4 stories featuring the Countermeasures Group.
So, audios with Chunky Gilmore? I'm sorry, Group Captain Chunky Gilmore.
Yep.
interesting.
All right. So it's we still got about 25 minutes before we'd normally cut over, and we can probably even add a little bit of time at that to discuss, first of all, the trailer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who here has seen the trailer?
I've seen it at least once.
I have.
Seen it a few times. I couldn't quote it from memory just yet, but I've seen it 4 or 5 times.
I've seen it, I think, a couple of times.
Yep. It's some of it is a little, a lot of it is Capaldi doing a monologue, in which he's basically talking about evil, or there's the point where I want to kiss it till it's dead. I'm like, really?
Yeah, he said I want to kiss it to death. So that's what I was kind of thinking of his love-hate relationship with Gallifrey, which is kind of what I thought that monologue was about. Because he's talking, first he talks about the depths of its evil and depravity, and then I want to kiss it to death, which sounds like how he would feel about Gallifrey at this point.
Possibly, but there's no full.
Nothing definite.
Yeah, there's nothing definite. We won't know until we actually get that quote. In
it's
whatever
all
episode.
Essentially vague trailer speak to hook our attention.
Yeah, it might just be trailer overspeak, but last time we thought it actually wound up being in the series. Because
I'm sure it's in the series. I just mean they picked the most vague vague attention hooking line possible for the trailer.
Yep.
Yep. We do see a Zygon in there, although
Yes.
it's mostly a brief flash. And it really, almost could be a scene from Day of the Doctor, if we didn't know better.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there were any children in Day of the Doctor.
We see a couple of aliens that we don't recognize.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even recognizing them.
It's like a group of people with blacked out eyes or some sort of eye patches.
Shadow with glowy eyes. Somebody that has like a bizarre clown-looking face. We see a Dalek. So we're going to see some Daleks.
Yes, we see a Dalek, and we see a city that a lot of people are speculating due to both similarities to past episodes and due to the shape of the architecture that it is quite possibly a Dalek city, either on Skaro or a similar world. There's also footage of running through what seems to be a wasteland that is speculated to potentially be from the same place.
I don't know. That city kind of also looks like, oh gosh, the serial where the Santarans are invading Gallifrey.
My first thought was
Gallifrey,
Gallifrey, but I've seen at least 4 sources that speculated that were pretty confident it was a Dalek city, and I am not the person to comment on architecture. So
if you're talking about the cityscape scene,
yeah.
The only reason they'd be thinking it's a Dalek city would be the bumps, and those really aren't Dalek bumps if you look at it in freeze frame.
No,
it still could be, but I don't think so.
Yeah, in the link I included with the news, if Matt has that up, it's the 3rd image down. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I seem to remember earlier episodes where the Gallifreyan architecture, at least the Time Lord architecture, was very circular, very circle-centric.
Right.
Spheroid,
it's
I should
possible.
say.
Yeah,
However,
my first thought was some of the Gallifreyan cities we've seen, but again, I'm not exactly an architecture guy.
The other thing is, if you notice, about 2 seconds later in the trailer, at about 40 seconds, you see a woman holding a torch, And the woman, while not exactly, does look vaguely like the Carnish priestesses we saw in Night of the Doctor.
Yes, there is the scene showing her. She does look very much like the one from Night of the Doctor, and I believe, or at least one of the sources I've seen does state that the actress who was wearing the red in Night of the Doctor is supposed to be returning this season. If that's true, there's a very good chance that's her.
So it's possible that what we're seeing is a city on Karn.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
Which would have
be
a very similar
interesting.
architectural style
Which
to
does beg the
Gallifrey.
question,
Yes,
if
it
there's
would.
Time Lords on Karn, why did the Doctor never visit them after
Not so
the
much
war?
Time Lords,
They're not
Bill.
Time Lords. They're kind of they're Gallifreyan
They're an
by
offshoot.
yeah, but they're not.
They're
Time
to Time
Lords.
Lords what the Zamarons are to the Guardians. Hopefully that wasn't too huge of a nerd reference. I'm sure there's
That
some
was.
Green
Because
Lantern.
it went right
I'm sure-
over my
Oh,
head. Not the-
I'm sure
Green
there's-
Lantern,
I'm
okay.
sure there's
Birds, I
one-
don't understand.
I'm sure there's one Green Lantern fan in the audience that knows what I'm talking about.
Bill, stop
yeah,
speaking
Green Lantern
in
was never my
tongues.
big thing.
Damn mood speak.
So it might be a Carnish. Might be a Carnish city. Of
Mhm.
course,
It
we
is
see
kinda
Missy quite a bit in the trailer.
I was gonna say about the city, it does look like it's got a red tint to it. It's more than just the sunset or the sun
Yeah.
over it.
Hopefully-
the architecture itself.
The sky is pink.
Hopefully, this actually starts that we're actually starting on the quest for Gallifrey this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we ended Series 8 with the feeling that was our next destination.
We also
And then
ended
we got
Series 7 with
sidetracked.
the feeling that was our next destination.
Or excuse me, yeah, Series 7 with it that was being our next destination, and then Series 8 got completely and totally sidetracked
There was about 5
to the
minutes
fact that
spent on
Gallifrey
Quest
didn't
for
come up
Gallifrey in
until the
Series 8.
finale.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we're actually going to work on that again instead of procrastinating for an entire season before Moffat just kind of whispers it in our ears again. Because that would, need an additional kick in the dick, and I owe Moffat about 5,000 by now.
Silver 9,000!
Well, I'm not sure if kicks in the dick really segue into this, but I was kind of hoping after going through pretty much, I mean, I'm a Dalek fan, but we've pretty much had 8 straight seasons, all of which at least partially feature Daleks, many of them heavily. I was kind of hoping this was going to be a Dalek-free season, just to detox for a little bit. This trailer puts the kibosh on that. Because there's at least one current Dalek and one classic Dalek in that trailer.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Is that that beginning scene where you see the Dalek head?
Yeah, you see a RTD Dalek head on the right, and on the left there's a classic Dalek head.
I did not notice that. I will have to look at that.
Yeah, I'm actually double checking that now because I have the trailer open and I'm bouncing around in it.
It's pretty low, but it.
Like, at what
looks
point in
very
the
much
trailer?
like a classic series Dalek head.
Like, can you give a second or two of where it was?
It's about 24 seconds into the trailer.
Okay, that's the spot. Okay, that is the spot.
Actually,
thinking
it
of
almost
24,
looks like
yeah.
the Dalek Emperor head from Remembrance. Because it doesn't look like much of an... Oh, no, there's an eye stalk there.
No, there's an eye stalk. There's an eye stalk.
Yeah.
It might be a new... No, it doesn't have the proper eye for it. I can't even place where that Dalek is.
Yeah, that's weird. That's a new Dalek.
Yeah, that's a new model. That's not a classic model, Bill. That's a new model.
That's not even a classic. Yeah, that's weird. That's new.
And then
That's
we
really
have...
new.
There's a lot of things in here that link to what looks like classic horror, hands coming out of the ground. Weird kind of
I've
clownish
seen speculation
horror.
that
What's that?
I've seen speculation that the hands coming out might be from Gaddis's episode because that's supposed to be scary. However, from what we've talked about, there's a good chance that episode is one of the 2 that has yet to be filmed. In which case, I think it might be more likely to be from the finale.
The hands coming out of the ground? Not
Yeah.
likely. The hands coming. Most of the stuff we're going to see here are going to be in the first half season, because that's usually what they do in the trailers. Is they show you
The
first half.
maybe a snippet or two if they have it ready from the later half.
I really enjoyed the two-headed alien.
But you mean the Two-Face thing?
Yes.
Yeah, the
guy with the-
Two-Face
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
That
That
looks
was just kinda
interesting.
weird.
I don't think we have a picture of him on hand. But I know what
There,
you're
there's
talking
actually
It's
the
on the-
Two-Face
it's
thing
on
is
the
on the
link.
picture down below.
It's on the link he gave us, Bill.
about. Oh, there it
That's
is.
link
Yeah.
you gave it. You gotta go
right,
down.
right below the shadowy guy that might be a new species of Dalek, but probably isn't.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
As mentioned, we see a lot of Missy in this trailer, but again, the
Yeah.
episodes with Missy are the first couple of episodes.
Right.
So
Unless she's showing up later in the season with them not having disclosed it yet, which
I'm
is
kind of hoping
entirely
not.
possible.
I'm kind of hoping not, simply because the fact that would be a little bit of Missy overload. I'll remind you what happened with.
You forget who's producing this season.
I know. I'm
Overlord
just saying.
is Galaxy.
I'm just saying. Historically, look what happened to Delgado's master when they overused him.
Ouch.
What?
Yes,
What was that? Ouch.
he died in a car crash.
Not that
No,
part. The fact
Bill.
that it's the fact that you started an episode and went, the master's behind it. That's what I meant.
Bill, get your
got
head out of the
predictable.
depth gutter. Jesus.
Bad Bill.
No biscuit.
That's why I was like, what? That's why I had that reaction.
No biscuit,
No,
Bill.
it was
bad. Bad boy.
It's kind of what you were thinking about Daleks, but a little bit different, because the fact that it didn't matter, because you knew the master was going to be behind it, because he was every single episode that season. Then they realized that was a mistake. They overused him, had to cut him back. And if they start putting Missy in like every episode, it's going to be the same thing. Missy's behind it.
Although they could use that to their benefit, but that's still kind of pushing it.
Then we have the tag trailer for this Born to Save the Universe.
It's the Carmel Master Plan.
Yeah, we went through last week's episode without you saying using those words, I think.
And who
Yes,
wants
we
to vote
did.
to lynch Aaron now?
If we
idea.
that will come into play more if we start doing season 26 reviews, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Ghostlight, Curse of Fenric, that kind of stuff.
We did do Ghostlight, but
that's right, we did.
Yeah. Also in this trailer, we have our first appearance of Maisie Williams, who is in 2 episodes that are written by different people, so not an explicit 2-parter. From this, there's a lot of speculation already as to who she is. I would normally say that most of the speculation is rubbish and she's probably a new character, but last person I said that about turned out to be the new incarnation of the Master. So I'm going to bite my tongue.
What have you heard?
Let's see, that she could be Susan.
Doubtful.
That she could be a regeneration of Georgia Moffat.
Jenny.
Yes.
As of Jenny, that one I've kind of half wondered myself. Susan would make no sense because of the way she refers to the Doctor in this is old man. Which could just be, kind of a sarcastic comment.
Right.
Or it could be a more derisive term of father, which would be ailing the Jenny thing. The only thing we know for certain is the fact that in the particular scene that we're looking at, the Doctor recognizes her immediately.
Right. And
now,
as we mentioned, she does appear in 2 episodes that might be separate stories. So for all we know, she disappears at the end of the first episode, shows up in the second, and that's why she says, took you long enough.
She could be the Ronnie.
It's possible.
That would
but
be interesting.
I
I don't really get that vibe off of her.
Yeah, I wouldn't think old man would be the term the Ronnie would use for the Doctor sense.
Yeah.
Correct.
that's just like, I don't think she's another. I don't think she's a regeneration of Missy either, for the same reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's either a new character that the Doctor has run into the second time we see this, or she's Jenny, because I don't see any other theory.
Another one I've heard was that she might be yet another Romana.
Again, old man wouldn't. Well, actually, she could call him old man.
I mean,
she could tongue-in-cheekily call him old man.
He was 700 when they met, and I don't remember how old he was.
He was 600 years her senior.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean a lot to Time Lords.
True.
But still.
Especially considering how long the Time Wars ran for.
Mm-hmm.
Although, they can arguably ignore the Second War in Heaven because that was not televised. But still, long time.
Well, no, I meant even with him at being a 743 and her at 169, there was still sexual tension on that TARDIS.
Yeah. Oh, that's what you meant.
Mm-hmm.
When you said the age thing, I'm just saying, because I get the impression the Time War, John Hurt went from looking like 20-something to looking like in his 80s during that war, which usually takes about 800 years for a Time Lord.
I don't think it was a short Time War, no. It takes a while for the Time Lords to go completely and utterly batshit insane.
That too.
It's
although Rassilon was running them, and if I've learned anything about Rassilon, is it doesn't take him long to go completely and utterly batshit insane.
No, I think Rassilon was a mistake coming out of the rebirther or whatever the hell they used to bring him back from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, I'm president now. No, you're not. Yes, I am. I'm pretty sure that's how it happened. But yeah, it's hard to tell who she is. It's obvious that they're really playing up the fact that the Doctor knows her.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I really think that she's going to be a Time Lord of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Or she could be another Tasha Lem, where the Doctor knows her, but the audience has no fucking clue why.
Yeah.
And never does, and never will.
Let's pray to God. Everybody put their hand on whatever they find most holy.
Pepsi.
That it is not a somehow regenerated river song.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Oh God. Why, Randy? Knocking on all the wood.
We jump from one love interest who he's many years her senior to the other love interest who's many even more years her senior.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God.
The Doctor. Pedo Bear approves.
Oh.
Oh God.
Tyler Saga in a whole new life.
Oh God. Anyway, I'm just hoping that that's not where Moffat's going with this, because I'll have to kill him a lot. I don't care what it takes to get me to San Diego. I'll be there for next Comic-Con. You'll hear about me arrested for gunfire.
It's part of my
I did it, and I'm proud.
The Doctor did have a second monologue in this trailer. It was much shorter, which is something the fans have noticed. When the 10th Doctor says he's the Doctor, it's about 20-word monologue about how he's the Doctor and what he'll do. When the 12th Doctor says he's the Doctor, I'm the Doctor, I save people.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the 13th Doctor. I'm the Doctor, bitch.
Seems more like that would be the War Doctor's tagline.
It's Rick James as the Doctor. I'm the Doctor, bitch.
Mr. T as the Doctor.
A beautiful,
I'm the Doctor.
A beautiful alien.
Speaking of the Doctor, who wants to get his last visual in the trailer?
I have it there.
Well, I meant who wanted to talk about it, but
the Doctor's into music again, apparently.
People are happy because the Doctor is putting on sunglasses and rocking out on a guitar.
Yeah, he seems to be a lot more carefree now, from what we can see in these trailers.
Yeah, he seems to be finally mellowing out. I think his change into this current Doctor is finally starting to mellow.
Or he's gone from Sixth Doctor to first season 7, and maybe series 10 he'll be the chess master.
I hope not, because that would just be copying 7. It's more, I think, along the lines of the fact now, because basically he was having a semi-identity crisis through most of the 9th series or the 8th series.
You keep wanting to say 9. It's not
Yes,
9
I
yet.
I do, because I keep looking and seeing the word 9, and it's interfering with me. But no, through the 8th series, he had this identity crisis, which he kind of hit that revelation. Who am I? I'm an idiot at the end of series 8. So now that he knows who he is, he can move on and just go with it. He doesn't need to prove anything to himself or the universe. He can just be who he wants to be.
1, 2, 5.
Car
3, sir.
Harry.
3!
So if he wants to put on a pair of sunglasses and rock out, he can, because he's the Doctor, damn it.
He's also the boss.
He knows how to play guitar.
Oh, one thing we haven't mentioned, there are corridors in the darkness that they run through.
Yeah,
And there's
I was going to
there's
mention
And
also
that.
this is
rock
new
part.
how.
I was going to mention that, but that's every fucking season of Doctor Who since the beginning.
Well, there's
Oh,
also
look,
a
another
gravel
dark corridor.
Again, every fucking season of Doctor Who from the first one.
Look, dark
Oh, you know
hallways, and look, rock quarries, and oh, guess what, Bill? There's gonna be a rubber spider. Guarantee you, there's gonna be a freaking rubber spider in someone's face.
Or a
One
rubber
thing that's-
something.
One thing that's not new but is semi-new, they've redecorated the TARDIS.
Again.
There are round things all over the place now.
They're more yellow. I can't tell if it's a redress or a recolor.
I don't think as I've heard
'Cause it
them
looks-
dubbed Ringles because they don't look like regular roundels. I think they're
No.
new.
I'm not sure. We've had these these circular things in the TARDIS for a while now. They were just like red and blue and faint. They might
So
have
maybe it's
added
just
some.
a particular view that caught the attention.
It's either a particular view or it's they've added more color, made them sharper. Because they seem to be fooling around with the TARDIS interior like every season now.
Right.
Which
I
they
know
need
the main difference between series 7 and 8 was a bookcase and the coloring.
Recoloring the central column. And they made those little circular things slightly sharper. Nope, those are new.
I'm looking at the Series 8 TARDIS, and it looks like there was just like one ring of them above head level, whereas now they go up.
I got a freeze frame of them now. Those are a
Gotcha.
remodel of the exterior wall, at least in the lower sections.
In the lower sections, those definitely look a little bit newer.
And, you know, the thing is, in that particular scene, are they in the TARDIS, or might they be in Missy's TARDIS?
Yeah.
That's also a question.
Thought of that.
Yeah.
It occurred to me.
You don't see
I
Missy
think
in that scene with them, but it's entirely possible.
They could have broken into Missy's TARDIS. Missy breaks into the Doctor's TARDIS on many occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Or I should say, the Master breaks into the Doctor's TARDIS on many occasions in Classic Who. Missy has yet to do it.
Well, she'll be breaking him in.
But she's possible. She has the power.
Okay, Bill. I believe you're the only one of us that actually saw the full Comic-Con panel, or at least the majority of it. Would you care to talk about that for a bit?
Okay, yep. I have jotted down a few choice things that caught my attention. One thing is that during the discussion, Moffat mentioned that writing the different doctors, isn't really that different. It's what the actor brings to it. The problem with that is that Moffat is notorious for writing all of the doctors that he's written pretty much the same way, regardless of whether they would be different. Which says something, considering he's written for 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, War. He's written for 6 doctors at this point. And yeah, he pretty much writes them the same.
So he's written for half the Doctors.
Yeah. And arguably he's written for Tom Baker, and he's written one line for the first Doctor, so you could almost bump that up to 8 if you really want to. Although at least Tom Baker specifically did the nose thing.
Mm-hmm. It is, I think, might be that particular description might be a failing from Moffat more than the truth, because if you
Right.
look how Peter Davidson was written compared to how John Pertwee was written, there is a difference in how they were written. There just wouldn't
Absolutely.
be if they were written by Moffat.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the criticisms I had for Series 7 was that every Moffat script felt like it was written for Matt. Not one of them felt like it was a new Doctor until Capaldi got the chance to put his spin on it.
Do you mean Series 8?
What did I say? I said 7?
Series 7.
I think you
meant to
said
say
7.
8.
I'm
Yeah.
going
Both
too
of
late.
you.
You're going too
No,
early.
both of you. 8. 8. 8 was the last one. Dang it all. 8. Oi. Holy smeckin' git.
Jenna Coleman mentioned in the panel that they are mid-shooting, which I would take to mean that the Christmas special and possibly the 9th episode are still to go. We haven't heard anything yet about them shooting the 9th episode.
My
and
theory
definitely,
is they might be filming those in one block.
yes.
There's
we talked about that before.
We talked about that in private.
Right. Yeah. The it's either that they're shooting them together or that episode 9 has so much location shooting that it needs its own block.
Either way, they have to shoot them about back to back because there's only going to be with the schedule that they've given us. There's only a 1 week break between the finale and the Christmas special.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're going to have a lot of time. Because normally the way it works is they start filming in June, or they start filming in like February, March, somewhere in there. They get done by about now. They get a month of post. Comes out in August. They film the Christmas special while the show's airing. Then they do the post work. Then they air the Christmas special. But they don't have that much leeway at the moment. They can't wait to do that.
Right.
So they got to start filming. At the most, they might be taking a few weeks between 9 and the Christmas special. And we're talking maybe like by a few, I mean like maybe 3.
Right. And there's on top of that, even if they were going to film it last possible second, they have to be at a convention a month and a half before the Christmas special. So even if they were cutting post to the minimum possible time, they still need to be done in time.
Albeit that convention's in London, so it's not like they have to fly halfway around the world for it, unless they're going to the Australian one, which we've mentioned we don't know.
Right. During the questions, there was some discussion of Shanna's relationship with Danny Pink and her dual life. She mentioned that it got into a big tangle of lies last series, but this series she's headfirst in the TARDIS, which I would take to mean either that just there's no new love interest or that she's actually moving to a traditional companion lifestyle.
You mean in the TARDIS, not stopping it, not having the Doctor pop in at Earth like he's been doing since Series 7?
6.
6? Yeah.
The Pons pretty much lived at home, yeah.
Yeah, that's been kind of a departure. The big tangle of lies, of course, is referring to her constantly lying to Danny that she's not traveling with the Doctor when she's traveling with the Doctor, and how
the
lie
whole,
followed
he's
after
okay
lie.
with it thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But so apparently it's going to be all straightforward this time. We don't know, again, if Jenna Coleman is continuing on after the series. Of course, there were big rumors that she was quitting after last series. Rumors that I think Moffat fanned on just so he could debunk. Fucking bastard.
Troll.
And there's been no such rumors or any news of that sort this season.
Jenna
Coleman.
There was a, and I use the word news loosely, a news article that Capaldi wants Jenna to continue as Clara after Series 9. I do not understand when they started taking celebrities' opinions and making news articles out of them.
Oh, they've been doing that a while now.
Yeah, I know. I just don't understand why.
Clara, this would be her second full season as a companion.
Yeah.
With a half season and a couple of specials on top of that. And that is usually about running distance for a companion.
Yeah.
She could probably continue into Series 10, but would have to be replaced somewhere in there. Otherwise, she's going to start breaking companion records.
Yeah, considering the, I think the longest we've had was 3.5 seasons. That would be Sarah Jane,
Mm-hmm.
if I counted those right. And yeah, I mean, we're not counting Rose as 4 full seasons, obviously.
Nor are we
Yeah.
counting Sarah Jane returning, right?
Jamie had the most number of total stories. I'd have to count that, but then again, New Who and Classic Who count differently anyway, so there'd probably be no point.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, it's and Jamie had almost 3 seasons.
Yeah. 3 seasons minus what, 2 episodes or 2 serials?
So you have to be looking either as the staff or as the actress to be moving on at some point here. Just I don't know when it's going to be.
Let's see, another piece. Michelle Gomez mentioned that Doctor Who was one of the easiest jobs she ever had because the writing was all there, and as long as she knew her lines, she could just turn up on the day and it would work out. Which is interesting because I did recently read an article. I mean, it was an article from the Daily Mail, so grain of salt, but quoting John Hurt is saying Doctor Who was one of the hardest jobs he ever had. So I guess they just have different reactions to the way Doctor Who works, or they just had different experiences.
Yeah, it might mean that Missy is close to Michelle Gomez's base personality, just a little more axe crazy.
Just a little more axe crazy, yeah.
Well, she is. I've mentioned it last season that Missy is a Yandari. I still stand by that belief.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, there was a lot of discussion since a lot of fans were harping on stuck on the ending of Death in Heaven, where they were talking about their friendship and whatever. And the metaphor was, or the simile was brought up essentially, or yeah, it was metaphor, but essentially that it's like having a vegetarian and a hunter that are good friends when they're not arguing about the morality of killing animals.
Still, I have to wonder, how freaking crazy the Master Missy is. It goes from being friends as a child to bitter rivals and enemies to arch enemies to now that the Master's regenerated into a female. Yeah, we're still kind of on opposing sides, but now I want to ride his baloney pony. What the hell?
Well, as Roger Delgado, he always seemed to be more interested in having fun with the Doctor than actually accomplishing his goals. As Anthony Ainley, you always got the idea that he did kind of want to ride the Doctor a little bit.
I didn't need to think that. Only, I think that was just Ainley.
My baloney has a first name. It's Gomez.
Okay. All right.
Let's see. Next bit of news. Capaldi mentioned that the Doctor would rather sit in the car park and look at the stars than go blow up Daleks, where they were talking about whether or not he's a militaristic figure at all.
That's actually on the ball. Mm-hmm. The Doctor would rather sit in the car park and look up at the stars than go blow up Daleks. But he knows that if he doesn't go blow up the Daleks, they're not going to get blown up.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's the only one qualified to blow them up.
Ford Prefecture not going to do it for him.
No, Ford fuck no. He'd sit in the car park and get drunk. And probably get sick on the car.
And while he's drunk, he might breakdance around the laser blasts.
One person asked Capaldi what was the moment that he felt like he was really the Doctor. He said it was when they threw a big rubber spider in my face and said, "Fight it." He asked, "Doesn't it work? Where's the operator?" And they said, "There's no operator. It's just a rubber spider." That would be Kill the Moon.
That would most likely be Kill the Moon, even though that was a really badly written episode. Yeah, that would qualify as a classic Who moment.
Moffat says that the way Missy comes back into the Doctor's life is not something you're going to predict. It's totally new.
My money's on arranged marriage.
Okay.
Take my wife,
An audience.
please.
This isn't this isn't really a major thing, but I thought it was kind of amusing. The audience member asked each of the 3 actors in attendance what their perfect day would be like. I found it interesting. Missy's day started with a cup of tea. Clara's day ended with a cup of tea. The Doctor's started with a pot of coffee.
Of course it does, because he's Scottish, and he doesn't take that namby pea crap. That namby tea. No! He has coffee and lots of it.
See. To be more specific, I think Missy said her day would be a cup of tea and then smacking Wonder Woman across the face. Clara was basically teaching class, going off, killing an evil alien, and coming back to a cup of tea. The Doctor, I think he said, Capaldi was like, he drinks a pot of coffee, starts to read the newspaper, enjoys relaxing for a few seconds, and then realizes that he's really bored and needs to do something.
All right.
Typical Doctor. Let's go somewhere and we'll look at something instead. It's boring scene here.
There was a bit where Jenna Coleman was originally like, oh yeah, you go into the TARDIS, pop off to Uranus, and too many people were laughing, so she backtracked on that and made it Jupiter.
She forgot she was in a room full of geeks, many of which still live in their parents' basement, and thus the phrase Uranus is snicker material.
Jenna, crazy.
Yes, I'm a geek, and I will admit it, I frequently do have the mentality of a 5-year-old. Phrases like Uranus are infinitely funny.
And let's see, the last thing I have here, it's not really, I guess you can mention it. They apparently Moffat does not like just being referred to as Moffat. An audience member went to ask the question. He's like, "This question is for Moffat," and all of the panelists laughed. The moderator pokes fun at it, and he wants to be called Steven. But apparently, when someone called him Mr. Moffat, that was fine because all of his family members are not Mr. Moffat.
I refer to him as the Moffat. Grand Moffat.
I don't know what he would say if you walked into a convention and said, "This one's for the Moffat."
He's Grand Moff Fat. He's actually part of the Empire.
Dun dun
I
dun
think
dun
Oh,
I was going to say it's time for the Moffat show tonight.
Since we have 2 minutes before the hour, there was another thing I hadn't written down. One person asked one person had asked about casting a female Doctor, and pretty much everyone's response was, "Yo, Peter's right here. We're not getting rid of him." That was pretty much that. One person had asked if there were any past companions that the 12th Doctor would like to travel with. Clara kept trying to get him to say Donna. He was basically like, "Well, I can't say anything other than Clara. She's here, but I'd like to see my granddaughter."
Aww.
Referring to Susan. The moderator mentioned that was a perfect political response that nobody could get mad at him for.
Yes, it was. Okay. We do need to move on from this now because we are now an hour into the podcast and haven't even touched our feature audio.
I don't think there's going to be many arguments on this one, though, so it's going to move pretty smoothly, I think.
Oh, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, it is now, once again, time for the 5-minute challenge. Our 5-minute challenge is brought to us by, once again, by Omega, manufacturers of timepieces for the British Royal Air Force as well as for NASA. Omega. Who knows time better than Omega? All right, so who wants to do the challenge today?
Oh. I'm going to give it a few seconds before, I'm looking at the stopwatch, just in case. Anyone else going for it tonight? Going once? Going twice? just me?
If you want to go for it, Matt, go for it.
Oh, I'm
Bill
trying to
did it
think.
last week, and I'd much rather do Jubilee than this one.
And I
Okay.
couldn't really pay attention to this one all that well. I was on Paragon chat while I listened to it.
Okay, so you're gonna have the stopwatch, Randy?
I'm loading it. All
Okie
right.
doke.
Ready?
I will give it a try. Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
The story starts off with two people we have not previously met, even in the audio adventures. They head down a hallway and they end up encountering a very familiar voice. This turns out to be Davros, who then quickly traps them and starts zapping them with electricity by the sound of it. We go into our opening with, by the way, one of the better versions of the Doctor Who theme, and then proceed on with the story. The Doctor has just landed in the TARDIS with his current companions. I couldn't remember their names if I tried.
Charlie and Chris.
Charlie and Chris. Okay. I'll try to remember.
Chris.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah, it's not.
Right, that's right. That's a Z. I do remember actually looking that up.
There's a couple of Z's in there, yes.
They wander in, and much like the previous opening segment, they're wandering through a dark hallway with doors, opening up one, and ta-da, Daleks. They very tongue-in-cheekily try to just pass it off as it's nothing new and walk away, but Davros once again speaks up, and the three slowly, unwillingly come back, just going, okay. Um, Chris and Charlie are taken off into the prison to be held captive, while Davros wants to talk to the Doctor. Apparently, Davros is suffering from a multiple personality disorder, where he is slowly becoming the new Dalek Emperor, still being held inside the huge Dalek casing that we saw from the previous episode. He wants the Doctor to help him transfer himself to a cloned body that he made from his own DNA, so that he can try and become more like himself again. As the Doctor is debating helping Davros with this, Chris and Charlie manage to make their escape and run away from the Daleks with the help of a couple of people who are apparently part of a resistance against the Daleks. I believe it was Charlie accidentally gets sidetracked and after a door is sealed before she can keep up, and runs off and comes to the surface. She comes to realize they are actually on Earth, but a huge portion of the population has been killed by a virus, and the few people who are around are trying to make the best of it that they can, despite the fact that they are under nasty Dalek rule. And also stops a young man from trying to kill himself, as he seemed to be about ready to do so. He seems to be at odds with a couple of things, including the fact that his sister has gone missing, and he continues to deny the fact that he even had a sister, for some reason. He's taken back to his mother with Charlie, and they try to make things out, but he suddenly starts to remember the fact that he was once a companion of the Doctor. Chris is also dealing with the other person, who turns out to be also under Dalek control, as the Doctor continues to decide whether or not he wants to help Davros. Davros decides to go, fine, Dalek trap. And here's the big trap setup, and shows off that this person is actually under his control. And as this continues to delve on, the Doctor also starts to remember who these other two people are, and that they are also previous companions, and that Davros messed with his mind in order to cause him to forget them, and that this whole thing has been a huge Dalek trap from the beginning, despite the fact that Davros does want to be saved. His more Emperor personality doesn't care and wants to kill him. Long story short, the rebellion starts up, both with Daleks that want to capture Davros and take him back as their new emperor, as well as the humans who want to try and get Davros off the planet altogether. The Doctor manages to secure a virus pill from Davros, which would actually wipe out most of the population on the planet, and would kill Dalek, human, and everyone else alike. He uses this as a bargaining tool against the Daleks and leaves it with the humans after they are finally left alone, and take Davros as their new emperor again, as the emperor personality seems to be taking over. The Doctor hops back into the TARDIS with his current companions, and they go off to seek whatever is going to happen to them next. The end.
All right,
I probably ran over.
you did it in 4 minutes,
Oh.
32 seconds.
Whew.
And that was with about
So-
5 to 10 seconds of discussing how to say Chris, which
Chris.
I
Yes.
actually don't like how they do it anyway, because the
It
actors
still
seem
sounds
to
like Chris.
replace the apostrophe with an A, and that bothers me.
Yeah.
I should take a moment quick to explain who these companions are. Charlie has been with the Doctor since the beginning of his audio adventures. She was a stowaway on the R101, which is the British version of the Hindenburg, which crashed over France
About the same
en route to
result.
What?
About the same results
Oh.
as well.
Well, except for the fact that the Hindenburg crashed in the middle of population, and the R101 crashed in the French countryside, so less people died. Just the people that were on the R101. It was, I believe, according to history, struck by lightning, which lit the, at the time, hydrogen balloon on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in the story, it was aliens, but
Yeah, I'm talking historically speaking.
yeah.
Anyway, because the fact that she was supposed to have died on the R101, she becomes kind of a temporal anomaly, which becomes more and more of an issue as the Big Finish audios goes on, eventually culminating with the fact that Anti-Time manages to sneak into this and infects the Doctor, turning him into the villain Zagreus. Once he manages to regain control, he's exiled by the Time Lords into a universe without time, which is where he meets
partially
Chris.
due to still being somewhat possessed and potentially dangerous
somewhat
to
still
real
contaminated with Anti-Time.
Time. Yeah.
So they banish him to this universe, where eventually he meets Chris, who is a native of one of the worlds in this universe. And eventually they recover the TARDIS, which was lost to him, and manage to make it to back to the real world. And this is their first adventure back in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Just for some backstory.
Apparently, they were intending to spend another season in the other universe, but that was ended due to it be getting too continuity heavy. So they bring us this story, which isn't continuity heavy at all.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's continuity everybody knows and loves.
Yes.
So
To an
let's
extent,
talk about.
except for the stuff about Charlie and Chris. Gemma and Samson, I just want to mention, for any lost by that, you're kind of intended to be. This is their first appearance. There are some short stories that were written after this that feature them from when they were traveling with the Doctor. But essentially, the idea is that you don't know about them, and neither does the Doctor until the scene where they're explained in this audio.
Until the reveal. Okay, so let's do our likes, dislikes, and we'll start with Matt.
Oh, so starting with the likes, eh?
Of course, our general like.
General like. I really like the voice acting. I was actually just kind of paging around looking at other things as I was starting this audio today, and all of a sudden that screaming just kind of made me pause, and I just couldn't bear to actually look around at anything at the moment. It's just like, oh my, this sounds like someone actually getting tortured.
Oh, the screaming in the prologue?
Yeah. That was just the start of it, but it just kept going, and there was not a bad voice actor among them as far as I'm concerned.
Big Finish goes out of their way to find really good voice actors for these audios, and because they are solely audios, you need to have good voice talent, otherwise
They're gonna fall apart.
it's very hard to sell it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
luckily, much of the cast of Classic Who is very enthusiastic about the show and and their characters, so they're able to translate that to audio without necessarily being some are primarily audio actors. Sophie Aldred does a lot of audio anyway, but some don't, and they still usually pull it off.
It's going to be
For-
interesting to see how the new Who cast deals with it.
Yeah.
Those that are getting series.
Yeah. For myself, what I liked, I had another one I was going to go with, but Tim can't change his. So I'm going to go with the Davros split personality plot. I found that very interesting and a very, worthwhile look at how, what happened to the what would have happened to the character after becoming the Emperor and spending some time with it.
Davros having his moments of Gollum.
Yeah. For Tim, he says he really liked the creepy and disturbing scenes in this drama. He thinks this is the first time he has ever been truly scared of the Daleks because he found the idea of becoming a Dalek more terrifying than being killed by one. To which I will say, I definitely love the horror tone in this story, and I agree with what he said.
I can totally empathize with Davros's split personality issues. I'm just glad that the voices in my head are aware they're voices in my head and prefer to sit back and basically make color commentary.
So are
Seriously,
you Deadpool?
my head is a combination of MST3K and Herman's head. It really is.
So, are you Deadpool?
Kind of.
Kinda, sort of, a little quirky.
All right, that makes it Aaron's turn.
Yes.
Yep. I actually enjoyed Karis in this one. Yes, I do understand that he was a bit whiny and everything, but I felt that, having something, having a character from like a whole nother dimension that wasn't just an alien, he was like from a completely different existence, really, a dimension without time. I thought that was pretty cool, and reading up on his backstory, he's a chameleon. So he doesn't just change his appearance; he changes his mind and his emotions according to the people that he's around, which sounded kind of really interesting.
I have some issues with Kara's, and it's mostly because yes, if you take a look at the pictures that are shown of him from, various covers, he's very lizard-like, almost Zygon-ish with kind of, various kind of sucker things. Yet nobody is ever put off by that in any of the audios I've heard of him. Even
True.
Here, his alien appearance only comes off as a one line made by Gemma.
The thing I've most seen him compared to, for those who haven't seen any images, is Alan Rickman in Galaxy Quest. Although at least most of the images I've seen, he's pure white, but apparently that's not permanent. That's just how the art.
That particular image, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot more of him, like, with this orangey, scaly skin, and maybe a little bit of hair on his head. I'm not
linking
sure.
me to some of that because I've been only seeing him either green or white, mostly white. It'll be interesting to see some other images.
Here's the one I keep finding.
I just thought that out of all of the non-human companions that the Doctor has had, which hasn't been many.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, I thought that it was kind of interesting to hear him.
And yeah, that's him and the Dalek thing in the center.
That's I remember the first time I saw that image, I couldn't even figure out who was in the Dalek casing at first. But yeah, that is a version of Chris.
Why is it that every time the Doctor picks up an alien from another universe, they turn out to be a whiny bitch?
You'd be pretty weirded
This
out
from an
too by
Adric fan.
Yeah.
He does turn into a whiny bitch. He does by the end of the Doctor's domain, by the Doctor's run.
The thing is that
by the
he's
end of his
going
run,
insane. He's going insane, and I don't know how they would have. See, I kind of wish I had heard some of the audio adventures before this, because this is the first audio adventure that I listened entirely that focused on the 8th Doctor, so I have no idea who any of these characters are. I barely recognize Paul McGann's voice. you know.
Yeah, this was the
Except
first
for his
8 story I
dialogue.
heard as well. I've listened to some ones with Charlie since then. Well, actually, oh yeah, you weren't with us for Destiny of the Doctor, were you?
No.
But there's through the in the Big Finish account that we use for the podcast. There's some Eighth Doctor stories with Charlie if you want to listen to them. I haven't
Okay.
purchased any with Chariz other than this though, so I'm kind of as in the dark as you are about him.
I would
Yeah,
have liked to learn more.
there's only like 3 or 4 prior to this with Kariz in it. Because he's kind of picked up shortly into I think it's like 2 or 3 adventures into the universe without time, and then there's like another 2-3 adventures before they find the TARDIS and get out of it. Because usually they do about 4 to 6 audios a season. So does a quote season unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Creed of the Chromon was the 53rd Doctor Who production, which
And that's alternating between Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, and Paul McGann. So maybe one
and
out of
Paul
every
McGann
4
had a
are in
50th.
this series, right? The 50th
Because
is when
Zagreus was Zagreus.
Right.
And so I think there's like 50th, and I think he got like the 51st or the 52nd. And then this one, they were fairly McGann heavy at this point. And then let's see, Terror Firma was
in the 70s.
Which number? Okay.
72, I want to say, but let me check that.
Because they then kind of slacked off on the 8th, like during the late 50s and 60s.
I was right, 72.
And then focused on the other doctors for a little bit because they had gone McGann heavy going into Zagreus, and then slacked it off, and then picked up again because this was
and
the first.
Eventually, they spun him into having separate box sets, so they didn't need as many main range stories for him afterward, with Dark Eyes and such.
So there might be a little more than 2 or 3. It might be more like 4 or 5, but it's still, there's not that many audios from where Chris first shows up to here. Anyway, I believe we were on to my in general like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to have to say, I'm going to have to take a pass, actually, because you've all mentioned ones I would have mentioned. And because there's not much more to say about this because it's an audio.
Mm-hmm. We can't comment on visuals.
So it's not like I can talk about the visual or the direction or the costuming because none of that's there. Or the special effects because there are
sound design if you want to talk about the directing, but there is a director.
All right. Let's move on to dislikes. Matt.
Yep.
Dislikes. I think once in a while, the Chariz stuff and the surface stuff would get a bit too jarring from what the main story was. I kind of wish they would have spent a little more time with McGann and Davros. I think that's my only real nitpick overall.
All right. Bill?
Bill?
Earth to Bill. Coming to Bill.
And we've lost Bill. No.
The silence of the universe. Bill?
Sorry, my computer acted up for a bit. It kind of kicked me out for a few seconds. Are you still going on with yours, or is it time for me?
It's time for you.
Okay. What I did not like about this was the Gemma plot. I kind of felt that it both made it a little too convoluted. Plus, on top of the plot that she already had with her brother, made it a little too dark. That's obviously a personal taste, as you listen to it each time. But I feel like that was a little bit over the edge at that point.
They also kind of left it hanging, which was, I don't think they ever went back to it either, so.
And for Tim, function. Tim mentioned that he found the story rather hard to follow due to a slight case of continuity lockout. So that would probably be referring to the history of Charlie Perez.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he knows Remembrance of the Daleks, considering he's been with us these past few months.
Yep. Aaron?
What I least liked? Gosh. I think that's pretty much. I'm gonna have to just piggyback off of Tim's and just say, yeah, I don't like. I spent an hour reading the Wikipedia entries for Charlie and Karis and the summary on Wikipedia for this audio drama, and I still managed to get lost while listening to it. So I just felt that it was maybe a little bit too convoluted. There was also a lot of like ultimate things, like this is the ultimate virus to kill everything on the planet. I was like, really, that thing exists? I mean, I guess it does.
Because of Davros, yes.
That's an ongoing thing with Davros, Genesis of the Daleks. Yeah. What we'll be dealing with later with Stolen Earth, Journey's End. I do want to mention the first time I listened to this, I had no idea who Charlie and Chris were. I basically considered Charlie to be generic companion and Chris to be Adric, and it pretty much worked out fairly well, except that I didn't realize Chris actually didn't look human at all because the audio gave no indication of that.
Other than Snake Boy.
Well, who did you think they were?
Right. I basically just like not that that's who I thought they were, but I basically thought of them as, say, if they were Tegan and Adric, for instance. Okay. Not necessarily, but equivalent.
Sarah Jane and Adric, or yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any human companion of the Doctor, any human female companion of the Doctor, just plug into Charlie's place, and then Chris fits that Adric role from being not from this universe.
Although I do like Charlie a bit more than some televised companions. Although I do think Mel got improved a bit by Big Finish.
Yeah, there are several Big Finish audios with Mel that I do not mind, and a lot of them are taking the piss out of things. There is an audio, it's near 100, where they're basically completely taking the piss out of Deep Space Nine. And I mean, it's so deliberate that you almost hear a parody of the Star Trek music playing for scene transfers. The Sixth Doctor gets some fun ones too, like Doctor Who and the Pirates, where it's the only Big Finish audio with the Doctor that's a musical.
I've also heard that one was a pure historical.
Kinda, sorta. There's a little more to it, but it's actually basically the Doctor and the companion, who we'll be getting into next week, telling a story to somebody. So this story may be actually completely and totally fictional.
Well, I just mean in the no sci-fi fantasy aspects to it.
Outside of TARDIS.
Yeah, I have to go with my least favorite thing being is the real lackadaisical writing in this. It seemed to branch out several areas without focus. Obviously, the writer was trying to tie up plot threads while telling a story, and it kind of got bounced all over the place. Things got left. The thing that Aaron mentions bugs me completely, where it's but for a different reason. It's, yes, I thought about you talking about me making a virus to wipe out all of creation. So I made a virus to do that, and what it really did is turn an entire planet into Daleks. That's not what he was talking about! So then I went and made the virus again.
I think he said he made the virus, and then, as a cure, made them into Daleks. So if he hadn't shown up, they just would have died.
Nope, that's not what he said. So I made the virus, and he hit virus Mark 1 was turn everybody into Daleks. And they never addressed that plot thread because apparently these humans that were there were supposed to be the only surviving humans, meaning when the Davros took off with the Daleks, there were no humans on the planet but this one area.
Possibly.
I kind of retconned that in my head to assume that there's small bundles like that in different parts of the world that they just had no idea.
The only group they talked to were the French Resistance, and they turned out to be Daleks.
Right. But I'm like, I imagine it might be like a tribe in Africa somewhere, something, like I can't imagine Britain repopulating the entire Earth.
The thing is, Britain
At
probably
least
can.
not into a multiracial.
That's why every sci-fi bit with Earth after this, they all speak British. Just saying. But no, it just, the writing was all over the place, and it just annoyed me. Okay, so, favorite scene.
Oh, favorite scene. I think one of the really good scenes was the gradual reveal and remembering of these lost companions for the Doctor, and you also kind of hear Davros commenting over it too, usually with the same phrase. But slowly just hearing the Doctor slowly piece everything back together that he had already previously forgotten, down to the smallest detail, including waking up and finding the TARDIS a mess and figuring that he just had a really bad drunken night.
All right.
That's including the spot where he's just like, I remember! And everything hits him all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that means I need to go to a fallback. So I'm going to go with where it becomes clear what's going on with Davros, where the Doctor realizes that Davros and the Dalek Emperor are competing within his mind.
All right.
That big scene I liked. Tim mentions the scene where Charlie backs Samson down from killing himself. He says, "The someone out there loves you" speech.
All right. Aaron?
I kind of like the scene where the Doctor kind of figures out that Davros wants
Aaron, volume, I cannot hear you.
I think you muted your mic.
Or moved it to
No,
your head.
I can hear her, but it's very faint.
Yeah.
Huh. Weird. Let me see. Can you hear me now?
Not any
Slightly
better.
better?
Weird. I haven't done anything.
I think
I'm
you've
trying
been
to
letting
enough
the
that I
fan.
Huh?
I think you've been letting the fan run, and it's been messing with your auto levels. So keep talking.
The fan run? I don't know. I don't
Because
understand.
I've been hearing loud fan in the background, and I think that's been ruining your audio levels. You need to keep talking to make it fix itself.
Okay, well, I'll try to, but people keep telling me that they can't hear me, so...
Well, you're getting better, so keep talking.
Okay. So, the part where the Doctor figures out that Davros is trying to kill himself is kind of my favorite part. As at first he
Damn it!
Because at first, it's at first he doesn't realize it, and he's just like, oh, yeah, no. I thought you were going to, transfer your brain into this clone. So, yep.
Better to let you suffer as the Emperor.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Okay. I'm going to have to go to a fallback. Because that was
We thought
mine.
the Sixth Doctor had a ruthless streak.
Although, I would like to make the comment that suicide does seem to be a recurring theme in this.
Yeah.
This particular story, yeah, a bit.
I guess I have to go to the scene where the party people reveal themselves to be the Resistance.
Ah, yes, where she just walks in and she's like, get the weapons.
All right, it's time, people. Because it's kind of remarkably British. It very is.
Kind of,
They're
yeah.
just sitting around having a party, getting like, okay, it's time, people. All right,
We're boosted up
let's
on
go.
rebel mints, and we got weapons. Let's go.
Let's soldier on, step up or lift, up. It's a very British, stereotypical British scene. All right, least favorite scene.
Uh, I think the one scene that really made me tilt my head and go kinda really was Chris almost shooting himself. I think it was. There was lots of back and forth in that really silly spot where he was supposed to kill a girl, or then he was supposed to kill himself and then not kill anybody, and just kind of what the hell. That particular scene just seemed really poorly written and made not much sense, especially since the character would so quickly forget the fact that he was at the brink of harming somebody, including himself.
All
I'll
right.
have more to say on that later because I have similar. I did think a different part of that scene, but for similar reasons. So I'll go into that then. Oh, actually, it's my turn anyway, isn't it?
Yep.
But yeah, I mean that it's tied into the same scene. I listed as the scene where Davros is dictating the orders to Gemma, but that's really just yours is a continuation of that same scene. It really loses something in audio form to the where it might have worked in a novel, it might have worked in reading a script, it might have worked in television, but I don't think it really worked in audio. It just seemed like just a mess of a scene. That and the fact that you have no Davros just seems to be talking to Gemma like she's in the room, and she's clearly not. And I'm not sure what they were actually going for with that.
Mm-hmm.
Tim mentions not specifically a scene, but I guess a line. He says he did not care for the idea that France was the first nation to fall to the Daleks. It was a bit too easy.
Oh, come on. It's France.
I think that's his point. That's exactly what everyone's going to fall back on.
The thing is, it's a British production. They get a chance to rip on France. They're going to rip on France.
Yeah.
There's kind of there's many hundred years worth of ongoing rivalry and ribbing between Britain and France. So I personally didn't think that was out of character for them to say, France fell first. Because after all, according to Britain, they are cheese-eating surrender monkeys.
To be fair, if it was written by Americans, the French would also have fallen first.
Yes, because we also call them cheese-eating surrender monkeys. But
yes.
Albeit, if you look at it from a logistics there are other ones that you would think would go first. Like, most third world countries if this was a virus.
Yeah.
But, nah, it's France. Fucking deal with it, it's France. Okay, Aaron.
Gosh. I guess the party scenes with Harriet. I mean, I understand totally why Samson is there. They just kind of confused and flustered me for a while, and then, of course, reading the Wikipedia beforehand, I kind of knew what was going on, but still, it felt kind of weird and off-putting. Almost like a, Mask of the Red Death type deal, where everyone's kind of partying while the plague is killing everybody outside. I guess that is kind of almost the same thing of what's happening here.
Except everyone outside is already dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or a Dalek.
Yeah.
Which, same difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's mine. It wasn't like,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I even start? I don't know. The entire thing is such a mess. It's hard to choose a least favorite scene. I guess if I have to choose one, it would have to be the one where Chris actually just ups and kills somebody without, kills the mutant. The entire inclusion of the entire scene with the mutant, actually.
Oh
Because it
yeah, that
was
one
kind
was
of
pretty
pointless.
hokey too.
Yeah. First, um, first of all, if there was a candidate for bad voice acting in here, it would be the mutant to me. Um,
It's kind of
and
meh.
I just, yeah, it was just, and it's just kind of a blah scene. Really, kind of could have been cut, other than to give Chris more angst, which he didn't need.
Which he really didn't need. Really,
So,
really freaking didn't need.
we still have a few minutes. Does anyone else want to say anything more about the episode?
Other than the haphazard way that things were kind of strung together, most of the rest of it was actually pretty solid, especially the Paul McGann stuff.
Well, I will never say anything bad about McGann's acting, because if there was a high point on this for me, it's McGann, because it's obvious he's developed his snark personality by this point. It's the one thing I do like about Paul McGann is he's the doctor that has a bit of lip.
And after
If
everything he has apparently been through up to this point, as just the Eighth Doctor alone, he has every reason to have a little bit of lip.
Mm-hmm. Why are you? It's the doctor. Why are you? I would think with the situation you would be less put up. Oh, I'm fine.
I just got back from an alternate dimension.
I'm about to die.
Having more experience with him than I did it before, I actually thought he would think he'd have a little bit more snark in that scene.
Well, again, though, it's because he's remarkably happy because he's back in his own universe.
Doesn't
A
even care if it's
universe which
Daleks.
he understands the concept of time.
He doesn't even care if
Yes,
it's
he's
Daleks
probably
anymore.
about to die any minute, but he'll die knowing time.
He'll die feeling time around him again.
For the rest of you, imagine traveling into a world where you're blind or deaf.
No, more than that. They say that sense is the most tied to emotion, and considering how Time Lords are with time, I would say transporting to a world where there is no sense of smell. I feel like that's
Okay.
how out of touch with reality you would feel.
Whatever your favorite emotion is or your favorite sense is, imagine not having it. Imagine a world with no sense of touch. And then imagine being there for an undeterminable amount of time and then being brought back to a place where you can feel again or smell again, whatever. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what he's going through, and I actually do enjoy that. So he's even though he knows he's about to die, he's facing one of his worst enemies, he's still giddy because of that.
And I haven't listened to the audio that immediately precedes this, but I imagine after dealing with someone like Rassilon, Davros is just, yeah, okay, I'll deal with him.
I don't know. The audios bring Rassilon out as more of a almost he's not as bad in these as he is.
I don't know. I just spent most of this afternoon listening to Zagreus, and they painted him in a pretty terrible light. And he was pretty much the villain of the story as well.
Yeah, but he comes across more as a magnificent bastard. If you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
He's an asshole, but in the same way he's still awesome. And he kind of comes along at some points and mentions in a few audios to the Doctor that there's basically a method to his madness. Or a madness to his method, He's doing this, but he's doing it because it needs to be done.
Although I can also assume that Rassilon is probably the reason why he can safely return without destroying the universe. So if so, he might not hate him as much.
Yeah. Of course, then the Time War will happen, and trust me, he goes full-on bastard. Because Rassilon in the audios is a magnificent bastard. Rassilon in New Who is just a bastard.
Yeah, we might see him if we find Gallifrey in series.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for that.
And
I'm waiting for the showdown
I mean,
between Rassilon and the Doctor.
unless we believe that Missy killed him in that fight after the end of time.
I
But
don't know. I'm curious. We haven't revealed this. I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know, Stephen Moffat.
There's some loopholes, Moffat. Come on. Come out and fill them.
Yes, please stop. Please stop leaving plot holes you can drive a Star Cruiser through. And stop lacing your plot holes with dwarf star alloy. Damn it. Anybody else have anything to say about the episode? We still got a couple minutes.
Oh, the Davros voice. This was the same one. This is the same actor who played Davros for the third outing and on in, right?
yes,
This is Terry Malloy. Yes,
all of the R's of the Daleks, same actor, Terry Malloy.
It's Terry Malloy, and he does it for any Big Finish audio, I believe.
Oh, that's right. I was going to mention. I do not believe in any way that Davros here is any more campy than the Davros that we're going to be talking about in a few weeks.
Yeah, this was a very dark and very serious Davros, even though he was having some issues.
Well, again,
Although I don't know. He might be too old to do the screaming on screen. I don't know, but I don't know how.
I don't know either. It was more of the fact that when they casted him, they looked back at his previous television roles and probably went, no, too campy, not at his Big Finish roles. And at the same time, though, it might have just been they felt like it needed to be recast after so long. I will not say anything bad for Julian Bleach, because he is...
he did a very good, solid job of that.
He managed to convince me he was Davros.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I do love the fact that the modern Davros actually does have the cybernetic hand from where he lost it in Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
So they've kept that little bit of continuity. So if you have to think of this happening in the canon, and you almost kind of have to with Night of the Doctor, yes, he must have gone insane and lost his mind to the Emperor Dalek, but then he got better.
Yeah, somehow he got better.
Although I was
speaking, we're talking about Davros. He's always got another plan to get out.
And he does not mention Gemma and Samson when he's giving his, farewell. These were the companions that I'm recognizing.
So you're thinking that this particular audio may not have happened,
or just that he forgot about them again.
Yeah. Yeah, because he mentions almost all of his other audio companions. He mentions Charlie, he mentions Chris, he mentions Tamsin, who I believe he picks up in either later in the main line or in his own Eighth Doctor line.
Only the Eighth Doctor exclusive ones. Well, up to that point, because I don't think he doesn't mention Bernice.
But he mentions most of the audio companions in there, and that kind of semi-canonizes them.
Yeah.
It canonizes them more than they were in the fact that we now know that they were official companions. Just we don't have the episode by episode confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's 1:45, so it is time for our final thoughts. Okay, and I will start with you, Matt.
We had a very solid beginning and we had a very solid end. I think the writer for this kind of figured out what happened in the middle as he went along, but it just kind of becomes a jumbled mess for a while until everything starts to straighten out. That's pretty much the only real downfall of this particular story. Otherwise, the rest of it fell together pretty well. And that's about it.
Okay, Bill?
I'll say that there's been a bit said of the the convoluted story, the convoluted and confusing story. I mean, a lot of what appeals to me and what's unique about this story is that a lot of that is the point. It's intended to set you off, put ill at ease, to be an effective horror story. And I do think, except for that one scene that I specifically complained about, that it does very much succeed at that. As a result, this story does stand out as pretty much unique to any Doctor Who story I've experienced in being very successful at that. And for that reason, I do enjoy the story, even if it's not top tier of perfection.
All right.
Tim's final thoughts are that the scene transitions needed to be a bit more pronounced. Also, he found it a bit hard to distinguish between the different voices. Oftentimes, he did not know who was speaking until they were addressed by name. I always have that problem. The drama and suspense of this audio drama was top-notch, though, and the Doctor's characterization as revealed in his actions to the situation were especially notable.
I would like to note that I also had some of that problem, particularly between Charlie and Gemma.
Yeah.
Yep.
When
Yes,
Charlie
especially
was
those
locked,
two, yeah.
when Charlie got locked behind, I wasn't sure which character got locked behind there.
Yeah. I remember that a little bit too.
Especially I keep thinking. I thought for a while that the prologue was Charlie and Chris until re-listening to it and finally realizing that no, this is Gemma and Samson beforehand.
Yep. All right. Aaron?
I kind of enjoyed this one. I do wish that I had listened to a few of these stories beforehand, so I could get a better feel for the companions. I felt they kind of helped highlight Paul McGann's Doctor a little bit more, because he's one of the more subdued Doctors. I feel he's one of the more human-like, kind of like David Tennant.
Mm-hmm. He's very Peter Davison and him are very close. I find in audios they have a lot of common traits.
Yeah. So, and it's not that he's boring. He's just very subdued. He's very subtle about a lot of the stuff that he does. And the companions kind of bring the action and the more outlandish characteristics. So, I did find it a bit convoluted. And it was a bit continuity heavy, yes. So even after reading the Wikipedia, it was still kind of confusing. So that's it for me.
All right. I find this audio to be a bit of a mess. It's obvious that the writer was given a list of things he had to cover, and most of those were things from Remembrance of the Daleks and things from the previous Big Finish audios, and he did his best to try to string them into a coherent story, but I really feel like he didn't succeed. The plots are all over the place. The transitions are kind of confusing, and all in all, it left more things hanging than it wrapped up. So,
by the way, does the thing about the dead in his mind ever get resolved or addressed in the future story?
I honestly don't remember, but I believe it comes to play near the end of his run.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, yeah, he just keeps, I don't know how far you want to go into spoiler territory.
I'm fine. I can't afford every Big Finish audio. That's for sure. So.
So yeah. They eventually traveled to a planet that mimics hell, where all the people are turned into demons. And because Kara's is kind of a chameleon that way, he absorbs all their negative energy and becomes a Lucifer-like figure, and winds up going insane with power. And eventually the Doctor and Charlie break him free of it, but not before he pretty much... He apologizes and dies, and his body turns into ash, essentially.
Yeah.
So he becomes the devil.
So,
Not every day you hear
sorry
that
to
one.
spoil it for anyone.
Little do we know that was actually the thing that was locked away in in the gravity well that David Tennant had to face. Just
See,
saying.
this is why they don't let us have non-human looking companions, because we do things
Yeah.
like this.
Okay. Other than the fact that they really don't want us to have somebody spend an hour, 4 hours in makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your rating, Matt.
Like I said, there's some very good voice acting overall. The only problem seems to be a little meh in the middle with the constant flip flopping with characters. Um, so I guess a solid 4 is deserving of this one, at least a 4.
All right. I'm not
Okay.
sure the rest of the panel will agree with you. Bill?
I want to give this a 4.5 or a 4. Unfortunately, between the continuity and some of the other things, there is a bit too much unintended confusion that does detract from the story. So, in good faith, the best I can do, I would say, is a high 3.5. Resolving a few, some minor bits of the issues would bring that up to a 4, and resolving all of it up to a 4.5. But I can't really say above a 3.5. Tim gives a 3.5 as well.
Wow, that's
All
low
right.
for Tim.
Aaron.
I did have some issues with this one. It's not completely terrible though. I really do recommend watching the rest of, or as much as you can, or before going into this one, especially for Charlie's backstory, according to what I've read on Wikipedia again. Um, but yeah, I would give this one probably about a 3.0. It's not as bad as a 2.5. That would be Twin Dilemma bad, but enjoyably bad, I believe. But yeah, I would say a 3.0.
Okay.
Ouch, I'm gonna be high beat today. I get the
Yeah, you
feeling.
are.
Jeebus.
Yeah, I think. Huh. Do I really want to give this a 3.5? Because it's not going any higher than that.
Yeah, from your comments, I kind of figured you'd be rating it lower than I was.
Yeah,
I would give like a 2.0 or
I don't think it deserves the 2.0 because there's no characters in here I outright hate. I dislike Chris, but I don't hate him.
I mean, you
Not
hate
like I
Davros,
have the
but we love
hatred
to
for
hate
the
Davros. We're supposed to hate Davros.
Davros is a villain.
Yeah.
But I don't have the distinct hatred for Davros that I had for the DJ from Revelation, who I want to die in a fire repeatedly.
Davros will
Ironically,
clone
we
him so
have
he can
seen
just see new
Davros die
ways
in a
to kill
fire
him.
repeatedly, but
So, Randy, you're telling me you want Davros to clone him to kill him repeatedly?
at the same time, you have two things that you can judge this on. You have writing and voice acting, and that's really it. The voice acting is good. 99% of it is good. The writing, I believe, was subpar at best. I'm going to have to give it a flat 3.
yeah.
So it gives us a
Middle of the
3.4
road.
average.
3.4 average.
Just barely above average.
Which, adding this to the master sheet, um,
That puts our average for Davros stories at a 4.12 with one remaining. One remaining that we're covering. There are some that we're not covering.
Mm-hmm.
At least not this year.
Davros episodes? Oh, you mean like Davros audios?
Yeah.
Yeah. Davros audios are technically, by this show's rules, included.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think altogether
Well,
there's probably
yeah,
about 7 Davros audios we can cover in the future, but we're not.
Isn't most of his other ones like Davros and stuff?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think there's 4 in Davros and 2 or 3 others.
All right. That was 116. It's not going to be a high ranking on this one. I take it you're disappointed, Matt.
Matt is sad and angry panda. Do not anger the panda.
It
Matt's
doesn't help
always
that
angry.
it doesn't help that I didn't have a very good time on Terra today either.
Oh god, you were on Terra? Were you
I mean,
on Celestial Hills, please?
No, I don't think
Dang
so.
it, then you were not on the server that everybody else is on.
That's because TeamSpeak was on a different server, and I'm just kind of gotten tired of it. It takes up too much space on my hard drive, and
TeamSpeak.
All right.
yeah, the Team
So,
Chat or whatever. Yeah, TeamSpeak.
so of our list of 112 episodes currently reviewed, this is the absolute middle of the road, coming in at number 66. It is just below the Five Doctors and tied with the Five Doctors, which makes them both just below the Christmas Invasion, and just above Silver Nemesis, tied by number, but Nemesis gets a 3.1 from the core, whereas this gets a 3.4.
Interesting company.
And Destiny of the Doctor, Night of the Whisper.
Which, yeah, that was a very middle of the road one. Funny that this ends up even more in the middle of the road.
Now this is right up mediocre lane, people. Take us out, Bill.
All right. Anybody wants to listen to more of our reviews of Eighth Doctor audios during our second season? We reviewed Light at the End, Enemy Aliens, and of course the TV movie. Those that aren't up on YouTube now or on our current channel now will be up by the time this episode is on YouTube. If you enjoy listening to us, please consider subscribing on YouTube, Twitch, and Mixcloud. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter for updates, and if you want to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/unearthlypodcast. Don't forget to join us next week as we take a look at a Robert Shearman episode. Not that Robert Shearman episode. This one will be the Big Finish audio Jubilee featuring the Sixth Doctor.
It is what Dalek is based off of, and this is actually an earlier audio in the series, number 40.
Yep.
Should be
Tune in
interesting.
then.
See you all next time. Okay, doke.